And my man that's got his coin request on here, I'm going to give you a phenomenal update when I get home from work today on the laptop. But yes, I will give you, if I ever feel there's a solid swing trade on one of these coins, because you asked about will they hold support and resistance, and you got a lot of things you're doing, and that's what's hard to tell. Well, nobody can tell you for sure if it's going to hold or not. The best we can do is look at all the indicators and get a very good idea where the support and resistance are, like we have now. And then you got to play the indicators and play the bounces, right? And the best educated and smartest way you can based on what you're looking at in front of you via the price action, right? Just like we know, we got the major underneath support there at the 0.0086, and then you got overhead resistance would be coming up over here. But to me, if you were going to try to like play this, it's got to come down and double bottom on that. So I think you're back testing this, and then you would think there would be a response maybe back to here, this other fib circle right here in purple, and then get rejected. That doesn't look like a lot right there, but if you come down and you stagger buy orders in down here and play that, that's a quick 14-15%. But in the crypto sphere with the fees and stuff, it's not worth it. It's very hard to know if it's going to hold or break support and resistance. You kind of have to look at what's been building up and leading to it, testing it, because all you can do is use your indicators, and they give us an idea. Like back here, we knew if we came down, this is a good spot to get buyers because our rings there. The same as if it comes back again, we know that this is a good area where buyers will be, but who knows how big the buyback will be. But I will give you, if I ever feel there's a phenomenal swing trade, I will give you what I think is a good swing trade. But right now, I'd be looking for it to come back to the 0.00863, and then if you can get some support, build a little bit of base there, right? And then maybe you can see that it can be primed for a breakout, and then your upper resistance would be up here, right? Your first one would be this purple ring, and then the next one would be this white descending channel that we're in, right? The white lines on the upper resistance coming from top left to bottom right is a falling channel that you're in. See that? Or a falling wedge where it's wider and then gets narrower, and it's leading you right down to that bottom ring. And I think you may eventually be coming all the way down there, right? But we're going to keep an eye out on that. That's not a for sure thing. But we know initially where we're coming down to what we just talked about in Raven Coin ZK Tube. We've been getting forced down. And I still believe, like, I'm going to take this off now. Like, I like to leave stuff on until you see it. I'm thinking it's coming to $26 as lower support, and it's looking more and more likely it is. You got your major overhead resistance all stacking up with the blue fib circle, and then all the moving averages overhead of it, right? So I think you're coming down to retest that $25 mark, and I got my eye on that because it looks like that's where it wants to come. And then it's got a little bit of support here for maybe a little bit of a bounce or just a hesitation before a bigger fall right here too, because you got old support and resistance lining up there right below the price. So that can be another underneath area where the price falls to. If it fails to hold at 25, it goes to 24 because there's a lot of support there. But that's where I think this coin's going. If you're going to double bottom right now from here, you got to start doing something. And then if you did it, your overhead resistance at first are these short-term moving averages, the 9 and the 20-day. And then you can see in red, I don't know why that doesn't look like red. The red, oh, that's because it's not red. I knew something looked wrong. The red is the 50-day. You can see it's crossing the 100 and 200 to the bearish side. That's bearish, that it's crossing over those to the downside. But this would be your major overhead resistance where that 50, 200, and 100 are all colluding together. See that they're colluding with each other? That is where if you pumped up, you would get forced dramatically down. But I still feel this is coming down here. I think that's where it's going. But this is your overhead resistance, this zone right there. That's heavy sell pressure all in that zone. As we're moving along to Dapp, you can see we were showing you this was the bullish scenario. If you were trying to get bullish yesterday, you had to try to come up there, and then it would come down to the 0.002. We came up here the other day and then got back up to the 50, but we're coming back down to that underneath target from that crash low. And if you fail to hold that, we got to zoom out here to see some more structure and some more price action, because what looks to be you're going to come down to would be into this next range where it's been heavily traded, which is down here. You can see we have multiple support and resistance areas on this. We got a lot of support, brief resistance and support, then a lot of resistance, then a lot of support, and then a pump, right? So this would be a spot where the price on its way down. If it fails to hold this 0.0028, this would be a phenomenal level that would be your next area as your overhead resistance is moving along into the current time frame. Your next underneath support with a little price label would be down here at 0.24, which again doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a pretty significant fall. That'd be a 15%, 14.69% flush to this next heavily traded area. And then if we zoom out to the daily time frame, I think we got to put the volume indicator on these recent pumps right here to give us some kind of understanding what's going on. And look at that, we're bearish. We got that classic double top that we were talking about when you first, my lovely subscriber wanted to talk about this. That's a classic double top. We're below that major volume traded area, so that's bearish. And I think we're going down to these underneath targets. DIVI, you can see when we started talking about it, we showed you that head and shoulders topping reversal pattern. This is the daily time frame. Let's go to the 4 hour. You can see that back here. We had that head and shoulders topping reversal pattern, and then the targeted move would be from the top of the head to the neckline to the point of a breakout. And you can see we hit that beautifully at the 0.0922. And then we've straddled it consistently now for a while on the 200-day. But I think this is going to be breaking down bearish. And I think this underneath target where the volume indicator traded range is that we have to move out now more into the future because it's taking a while. We're going to move that over. I think this is eventually where you're coming down to, and it'll probably go right on where this ring coincides with it. But I think you're about to fall down. And if you can't start trading up, I think you're going to fall down very fast down to this underneath target, because I think you could come way down here, right, eventually. But if we zoom out to the daily time frame, let's see if we have any more support or resistance along the way, which we have several support and resistance zones. So the first support zone on a breakdown would be right in this area, right? We got a lot of support and resistance on it. Back here, it was resistance once, resistance twice, right? See that resistance once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, finally broke out to the upside. Then as we moved along into the future, it used it as a whole bunch of support right here, and then support above it right there. So if we flush, this would be your first area where you'd get supported on in DIVI. I'm very bearish on a lot of things in the market, as I've been for quite some time, but now everyone's starting to see some of this greed starting to get flushed out of the market. But this would be where, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. This would be your first underneath target, would be the 0.07 cents if you can't hold this area where you're at now, and that would be a 17 to 18% flush. And then your next underneath targets below that. So that's what's going on in that. And then Nord, real quick, your upper target on a wick would have been up here, but that's looking less and less likely. And if you break this key support where you're at now, your first underneath major support is going to be on the top of the heavy volume traded profile range at $3.86. And then if you fail to hold that, your next support would be along this old support and resistance line back there at $2.54 down to a $2 ultimate target. This is a very bearish look. If you slip out of here, you're coming here real quick. And with our industry exclusive measuring tool, that would be a 26.69% flush as we zoom on in a super simple, easy way to trade this market. You can see it looks like it wants to break down, and I'm very bearish on this too. This is a critical area for it. It could try to gather some support around its low right here, trade back up and back test this yellow line as major upper resistance at the $5.25 to $5.40, then get rejected and then do a flash drop. Like, subscribe, and share to Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing. Peace and love. Peace and love.